Jeremy Corbyn's position on anti-Semitism, and we can speak now to one of those signatories, Robert Winston. Lord Winston, thank you very much indeed for joining us. This advertisement which you've signed, it says, "This is your legacy, Mr. Corbyn. You have therefore failed the test of leadership." Are you saying it's time for Jeremy Corbyn to go as Labour leader?
Well, that would be a good start, but I think there's something more serious here. First of all, I think you did say Conservative peers. In fact, it was signed by 68
Labour peers.
Labour
Sorry,
peers.
it was a slip of the tongue. I'll
Yes,
correct myself.
that's all right. And bear in mind, too, that of those who signed, only 3 or at the most 4 are Jewish. This was not, in fact, a Jewish plot to unseat Corbyn, which is what I get in anti-Semitic mail all the time, I'm afraid, from some members of the Labour Party, and it's important to say that. No, I think we have to change. Unfortunately, either one has to assume that Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Semite, and I have no idea whether he is or not. But if he is, he presumably doesn't know it. Or if he's not an anti-Semite, then he's being manipulated. He's a puppet of a very, very sinister group at the centre of the party, and they need to go. And I think, actually, one really needs to clear out the stable, probably. But certainly, the people manipulating Corbyn are doing a great deal of damage to the Labour Party. And that has to be understood. Unfortunately, Corbyn has not answered in his letter. He has not given us any serious reassurance that things will change. And it's not just about anti-Semitism. We've made that clear. It's really about the quality of leadership. And unless there is proper leadership from the opposition, we can't have the situation where a tottering government is still in power when actually we should be at least 40 points ahead in the opinion polls at the moment, and we're not, we're trailing.
Lord Winston, I mean, you I think, are Jewish. Why do you think this has become such an issue? I mean, it's puzzling to many outsiders as to why in this day and age...
It is puzzling.
There's an argument about this.
It is puzzling. You know, it is puzzling, particularly as the Labour Party was such a strong... that the socialism of the Labour Party was, in fact, very largely, it came from Jewish origins, certainly, you know, at the turn of the century. But from time to time, if you look at the history, you'll see the extreme left has been very, very anti-Semitic. And that extreme left, unfortunately, you could argue, really, in fact, it's a very right-wing form of leftist politics. But whatever it is, it's intolerant, and it's angry, and it's actually doing very serious damage to what is a noble party. I joined the party many, many years ago because I believed in the ideals of the party. It's been very, very difficult to stay. Sadly, the party has already lost a number of people who are very serious ex-ministers and other people with great integrity and great values. But that can't continue. The fact is we're losing more and more support, and has to stop now.
Do you feel that Mr. Corbyn himself is part of that left-wing group who, because of ideology, end up being anti-Semitic himself?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it, to not recognise that he's associated himself with some extremely hostile groups, which sometimes have been terrorist organisations, sometimes clearly anti-Semitic organisations, not exclusively so. But that in itself is worrying. But, you know, I think Mr. Corbyn has to answer himself, and so do people like Seamus Milne and the other people who are on the National Executive. They need to actually recognise that what they've done is not really take firm action. But they've been responsible, in fact, of course, for what is currently happening with Mr. Corbyn not giving straight answers.
Do you think the general public is reacting to what's going on in the Labour Party over anti-Semitism? Is it an issue that resonates with the wider public?
You know, Adam, that's a very important question. You see, ultimately, I don't think it's about anti-Semitism. I think this is a symptom of something much worse. It's a symptom of a party which really is seriously in conflict and is not being led properly and has not actually got proper ways of making decisions when it's out of government. So in government, it really would be disastrous to have this kind of manipulation of a party of government. That's something we don't want again. We've had that in the past. We now need to see a Labour Party which really wants to implement good social values, better housing, better treatment of people who are poor, better taxation systems, a whole range of things. But we're not talking about any of the policy issues because we're trapped in this ridiculous circle, which has certainly not been caused by Jews, it's been caused by anti-Semitism.
And what has been the impact, do you think, on Jewish people in this country of this whole matter suddenly becoming such a fierce debate?
Well, you saw in the Panorama programme young people who are altruistic in tears, who feel psychologically threatened by what's happening, who've given part of their work's life to trying to support a party which no longer seems to be supportable. I mean, that's a big problem. But throughout the party, I mean, my Jewish friends, and I have obviously a large number, a lot of Jewish, non-Jewish friends as well. My Jewish friends say, what are you doing inside the Labour Party? My view is it's better to remain inside it and try and change it. But of course, equally, a large number of non-Jewish friends, a huge number, say, Robert, please don't leave the Labour Party. We need a proper party. So there is a general feeling, certainly in the House of Lords, which I think only reflects a vast number of people outside London, that really this is not something which is acceptable.
Finally, this matter has been going on for some years now. Do you feel that we have now reached a tipping point where your side of the argument is going to prevail within the Labour Party?
Adam, you're a political commentator of great repute. I'm not sure that really you wouldn't have a better judgment on that than I have. I mean, I must tell you that 2 years ago, or even a year ago, my signing a letter of that kind to the leader of the Labour Party would have been completely unthinkable. But there comes a point when you see the constant drip of mismanagement and central control over somebody who should be leading in a proper way happening. And then finally you recognise that unless you protest very vigorously, we won't have a Labour Party. So many people feel that the Labour Party is finished. I hope it isn't, because I believe we do need a left party of some kind which is really effective in trying to move forward with proper government. And we don't have that at the moment.
Lord Winston, Robert Winston, thank you very much indeed for joining us. This is All Out Politics. Coming up